want to ask you here on the stage tonight, do you make the same commitment that you will absolutely, sir, that you will absolutely accept the result of this election?
I will look at it at the time.
Are you saying you're not prepared now to commit to that principle?
What I'm saying is that I will tell you at the time. I'll keep you in suspense.
All right, Democrats are apoplectic after Donald Trump said that at last night's debate. Now, before they trash the GOP nominee and pretend to be so morally outraged, well, the left needs to consider their own blatant hypocrisy on this very issue. Now, let's start with the 2000 presidential election. Remember, Al Gore initially conceded to George W. Bush, but after the race was deemed too close to call and a state recount was triggered in Florida, well, Gore retracted his concession. The next day, Gore's team, including 80 lawyers, well, they descended on the state of Florida, and the Democrats started questioning the integrity of the ballots there, including calling some of them, quote, illegal. Now, after 36 days, a Supreme Court ruling, and with George Bush clearly winning by 537 votes, Al Gore did finally accept the result, but many other Democrats did not, including Hillary Clinton. Now, as late as 2002, Newsweek reported that while at a private fundraiser, Clinton said Bush was, quote, selected, that he was not elected president. And in 2009, during a town hall in Nigeria, while she was serving as Secretary of State, Clinton floated a conspiracy theory saying, quote, well, you know, we've had all kinds of problems in some of our past elections. As you might remember, in 2000, our presidential election came down to one state, where the brother of the man running for president was the governor of the state. So we have our problems, too. And just last week, while she was campaigning with Al Gore in Florida, well, Clinton was seen smiling, agreeing with chants that Gore won the 2000 election. Watch this.
For those of you older than 25, I heard you murmuring just now. But take it from me, it was a very close election. Elections, well... Here's my point. Here's my point.
Clinton nodding. Now, she's not the only Democrat, by the way, who questions the 2000 election results. In 2013, according to reports, Vice President Joe Biden, he claimed that Al Gore was the one who was elected president. And he claimed that the recount result was, quote, a bad decision. Now, there's also the 2004 election. Then Senator John Kerry, he waited until the next day to concede to President George W. Bush, and a lot of Democrats, including Barbara Boxer, were advancing a narrative that Bush cheated to win Ohio in 2004. And Howard Dean would later tell Rolling Stone magazine that there was, quote, substantial voter suppression and the machines were not reliable. And just last year, the New Yorker reported that Kerry thought that, quote, proxies for Bush had rigged many of the voting machines. Back with reaction, former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich. It is a little ironic that the media is so outraged, focused, and fixated when they've got this history that they totally ignore. But now that WikiLeaks revealed that they worked for Hillary Clinton, I guess it's not that big a surprise.
Look, I think the objective fact is they were going to find something to be horrified with. Trump had had a great debate. He hadn't given them anything. And so at the very end, they got the thing. And I can already tell you in 24 hours, reasonable Democrats are saying, this is just stupid. And part of it's because of the Gore decision. I mean, Al Gore legitimately filed a lawsuit, engaged in 30-some days of negotiating over who won the election. That's not illegitimate. It's not unprecedented in American history. We had both the election of 1824 and the election of 1876 were very contested. So this whole notion of, oh my gosh, what is he doing? Look, if you were Donald Trump and you just went through a process where clearly the FBI has been rigged, clearly Hillary Clinton has lied about virtually everything, clearly there are 33,000 emails missing, and you look at all these different patterns, the news media donates 96% to Clinton and 4% to Trump. Given all those facts, I think it's reasonable to follow the Ronald Reagan rule of trust but verify. And all that Trump said was he's going to verify before he concedes, assuming he's going to concede. And I think that was a totally legitimate position for a citizen to take.
Let's now go back to the Project Veritas tapes, the guy that you said leading this effort has been to the White House over 300 times since Obama's been president, but we also established that the money comes from Hillary Clinton's campaign, funneled through the DNC, funneled through a democracy group, funneled to the agitators that foment violence, but also they talk at length about a massive voter fraud scheme. It's all caught on tape, and I think the question Hillary needs to be asked, will you stop funding the effort of these people fomenting violence and planning massive voter fraud? Let's go to the tape.
It's a very easy thing for Republicans to say, well, they're busting people in. Well, you know what? We've been busting people in for 50 years, and we're not going to stop now. We're just going to find a different way to do it. So, I mean, I grew up with that idea. You know, they used to bust people out to Iowa. If we needed people out there, we used to bust people out to Iowa. The ripest environment to do it in? Two, within striking distance. Michigan, Indiana. Least restrictive donation caps and campaign finance laws and any investigative arms and any of that. Like, they have weakened it so bad in these 3 states. You could mother in front of the governor and not go to jail. If you had enough money to go like this.
All right, you mentioned the FBI on violence. They are planning on using Hillary money, DNC money, for a massive voter fraud organization. It's like a criminal organization. You know, what should the Republicans be doing here, and where does law enforcement get involved?
Well, I mean, first of all, a good friend of mine suggested that they should be calling for a RICO investigation, because this is clearly a conspiracy to commit crimes and fits the whole definition of RICO in terms of an organized crime effort. But I want to go back to what I said a while ago, because it also applies here. Where's Director Comey? Where is the Federal Bureau of Investigation? You've produced, and you're the #1 lead person getting this out to the country, although I've begun to notice it's leaking through other places. But you clearly have evidence here that at a minimum has to have an FBI investigation, and which totally justifies very strong efforts to get enough volunteer attorneys to make sure that Republicans are able to police virtually every precinct that's questionable, because you have people who are telling you up front that they're going to engage in massive voter fraud. And we have evidence, for example, of a guy in California who's a minor miracle. He's been dead for over 20 years, and he's voted 4 times since then. And I think it almost could be, you know, could be a shrine to the permanent voter, you know. I mean, it's crazy. And then liberals say, well, there really aren't very many cases. In Philadelphia alone, there is potentially enough vote theft to actually swing the race against Senator Toomey and against Donald Trump.
Well, all right, Mr. Speaker, we got to leave it right there. We're running out of time. These are serious allegations, and the fact that the money flow is from Hillary's campaign to the DNC, to these dark art political operatives, is really chilling. Anyway, coming up next tonight, right here.